Alright, here we are again making some new granny squares for a new blanket. We're starting. We finished the last series. This is a completely new series and we're going to be doing 5 new stitches, making 5 of each square or each stitch, and then we're going to be putting it all together into another Afghan blanket. So this week I like to start week 1 with a more simple stitch. This is just a half double crochet. So if you know how to half double crochet, you probably don't need this video. If you want to do a refresher, or you need some more practice, or if you haven't done the stitch before, you're in the right place. So with our last blanket, we did a base chain of 30. We're going to do that with most of or all of the stitches on our new blanket. So we will start with that. Here's our finished product. The yarn I'm using is a worsted weight. The weight number or category is 4. I like to use Red Heart. It's affordable. The other materials we're going to need are a sewing needle. You don't have to use this, but it's very helpful. Scissors, of course. They're nice to have on hand so you don't have to run all over trying to find them when you're done. And the hook we are using is a size J. It is a 5mm hook, available at pretty much everywhere. So I'm going to start with a slip knot. Go through here. I like to leave a nice long tail. It's going to make it so much easier to stitch in your ends when we get to that part. Like I said, we're going to be doing a chain of 30. I don't like to count my first one. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, oops, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, and it will stretch out as we go. If it looks a little small, it's okay, it'll grow. To start our first row, or all of our rows actually in this pattern, we're doing a half double crochet. So you yarn over. You're going to go in not where we just were. That would undo the stitch you're doing. So we're not going to go in that, but we'll go in the second from the hook then, right there. Yarn over, go through, pull the yarn through, and you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all. That's what makes it different from a double crochet, being only a half double crochet here. A double crochet, you would yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're not doing that here. We are doing yarn over and pull through all. So again, yarn over, go through the next loop of your chain, pull it through, yarn over, pull through all of them. Oops. Yarn over, go through the next loop of your chain, pull it through, got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through them all. We are doing that same process all the way along here. Yarn over, through all. Okay. Now if you haven't seen any of my other crochet videos, you might notice that I do yarn over to the front rather than behind. So if that trips you up, I'll do the next couple that way. Yarn over, stitch will come out the same way. I just think more people are probably used to seeing it from behind there. Like I said, continue that along your whole row. So we'll keep going and I will meet you at the end of this row. All right, here we are. We're almost to the end of the row. That half double crochet here. Okay, now that last loop, or the where we put our slip knot in that row of chains, it's gonna look funny and stick out here if you miss it. So make sure you do go in that very first chain, which really was your slip knot. Go in through here, yarn over, pull through all. All right, you can always pull that beauty, the slip knot, you can pull it a little tighter. Okay, we are ready to turn our work over and continue on to the next row. I like to chain one before you turn. I've noticed my ends will get a little bit tighter. Double crochet, not as much, but this half double or single crochet is always, I tend to bunch up on the ends, and then you notice your project will start getting a little smaller and smaller and tighter and tighter. If you want it nice and square, if you're like me, you can definitely chain one before you start your next row. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. If you do, that's fine, great. I'm not the boss of you, you decide. Anyway, I've started my second row here. Yarn over. Now, the difference between your first row, or making the stitch off of a chain, and making a stitch off of a regular row, is that you're going to be going through both of these loops. Actually, back up one. I'm going through right here. This is probably a lot easier to show since I've got the camera overhead. So I'll pull through both of those, yarn over, pull through all. Now if you see something you don't like in your pattern, like I noticed that this is kind of loose right here, I'm actually going to undo it back to where that problem is. It's the beauty of crochet. You can always come over here. So again, I chained one, turned my work around. Now I'm ready to do my half double crochet all the way across this row. Yarn over, go through both, pull it through, yarn over, pull through all. Okay. Just gonna keep working along. I know that I like to watch TV or listen to audiobooks while I'm doing my crochet. This is a nice mindless stitch, especially once you get into that rhythm, to just go right along. You can kind of listen to and keep an eye on something else going on without having to count your pattern. Like I was saying, the pattern for this is just completely repetitive. You're going to be doing the same half double crochet on every row until you get a nice squared off shape. So you will keep going row after row until you're able to fold it into a nice triangle. That way we can tell that it is squared off. So I'll finish the row and pretend like this is nice and square. Alright, I'm getting to the end of the second row. And go in that last one. Okay. Now if you're not sure if you are done with the row, kind of check, make sure you don't have a really big knob sticking out here. You can look for another stitch. You can chain one and pretend like you're going to go on to the next row, and then you'll really be able to see if there's an extra stitch sticking out here where you need to add one. This is good and squared off. I'm actually going to back up, and let's say that was your last row, or all the way to the top, last row. You're going to leave a nice long tail like when we started. Cut it. To secure it with a knot, we're going to yarn over, pull through, but I held on to it so I wouldn't pull it tight. So again, I did yarn over and I pulled that tail through while holding on to that loop, because I'm going to stick my crochet hook through, yarn over and pull through all the way, pull it tight. That's our nice little knot cinched in on there. Now I'm really gonna try hard this time to tuck all of my ends in as I go instead of sitting there for a couple days and doing ends. It's quite tedious. So you can of course use your crochet hook to tuck your ends in. Crazy people even might want to just tie it tight and trim it real short. That's you do you. But if you'd like to use a sewing needle or a yarn needle, these nice big plastic ones, they also make metal ones. I like to just put a little loop there. Sometimes they're hard to thread. To get that through the eye enough to pull it through. They're super easy, just kind of stick it through there. Let it go out a ways. Give it a tug so it's not cinched really tight. And then go back through the same direction. And if you've switched directions, that's pretty reliable, pretty secure right there. And go ahead and trim it. You're going to do that with your other tail. All right, we've got both ends tucked in. There we go. So that is our half double crochet. You are going to make 5 nice squares using that base chain of 30. Go rows until it is nice and squared off. Tuck in your ends, or don't. And make 5 of these. We will see you back next week for a new stitch, which we will also do 5 of for our 5 weeks, and then we are going to stitch it all together.